Hi, and welcome to another episode. So, guys, this time we will still delve into our exploration of the Albanian language. We will be reevaluating some claims that have come recently in terms of, in terms of the development of the Albanian language. What we are looking at is two researchers who have put forward some claims that do not correspond with findings, um, yeah, with the rest of the language, pretty much. And I will argue for why Çabej and Orel's claims are inaccurate and incorrect, in fact. So let's go on without further ado. Let's continue and do, excuse me if my English is a bit rusty. I do live in Norway and English is my third language. So if it is a bit rusty, I will get into it and it will become better. So just bear with me. All right. So introduction, mainstream linguistics often treat Albanian as a peripheral Indo-European language. Vladimir Orel and Eqrem Çabej argue that Albanian is heavily influenced by Latin, Greek, and Slavic. This presentation challenges that perspective using linguistic, phonetic, and historical evidence. We will explore why Albanian plays a central role in European linguistic history. Now, before we begin, I did some research on Vladimir Orel and Eqrem Çabej. Yeah, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correct. Eqrem, yeah, it's probably Eqrem Çabej. Either way, so Vladimir Orel is a Russian linguist who wrote two books about the Albanian language. Apparently, his book has been taken into the scientific community and it has had a massive impact on how Albanian is viewed. However, there are some big misconceptions regarding his claims and that do not correspond with the findings that is known to Albanians. But not only that, it's also very intriguing to find that a Russian person has written about the Albanian language without ever really knowing it. And that is a big fallacy or a big fault, a flaw, I would say, a flaw. You should know the language you write books about. That is quite essential, one would say. Yeah, it's quite logical, but people have done that. Why they have done that is probably of interest for the ones who are into politics. This is a matter of power. Do remember that we live in the age of civilizations, and power plays a massive role in how influence is distributed. And we do find departments of Albanology, so a whole department in studying the Albanian language in Slavic countries for some reason, in particular Serbia and Russia. Those two places have had extensively focus on the Albanian language and they have tried to debunk it as being originally from Europe or even European at all in some instances. But in this instance, we will look at these two guys. So Vladimir, he died, was not a big figure, not in the Albanian community, not in the Albanian psyche or the science. And Ekrem Çabej just has pretty much just reinforced his claims, but I will break them all down. So, so without further ado, let's go on. Addressing the loanword argument, Çabej claims that up to 70% of Albanian words are borrowed from Latin, Greek, and Slavic, which would suggest Albanian as a hybrid. But Albanian remained an oral tradition for centuries, meaning its linguistics contribution predates written records. Writing does not indicate linguistic priority, and many borrowed words may actually originate in Albanian or from Albanian. Now, this is very interesting. The reason for this is because I want to debunk the claim that we need to have written forms of a language for it to have existed, which is nonsensical because we do know that most of tribes and native people and indigenous people did not develop written forms for their language while still having a language. So that argument is now destroyed. Let's go on. Evidence of reverse borrowing. Many Latin and Greek words can be broken down into Albanian root structures. Genus, Latin, Albanian gen, to find, to capture, birth, creation. Divinitas, in Albanian, we find the words divinita, know, come, listen, all, Father. Or a full sentence would be know how to come to him. Divinata. Divinata. Ni, na, pretty much the same. Yeah. Divinata. Divinita. Which means know how to come to him. It's beautiful. That is beautiful. That is poetic. Poetically beautiful, and does explain what the word actually means. Because it was divinity, or the divine God. Pater, Latin, Albanian, at. Okay, so the PIE word has to be incorrect. Can't be polysyllabic. Our first words were not polysyllabic. So double syllables, they have to go. All the long words have to go. We will only stick with the actual words here, which are short, monosyllabic, and phonemes. So at. At is the old Albanian word for father, and we also find it in Sanskrit, and we find it in many other languages, that we know are from antiquity. So we already can see that the Indo-European words is not fater, but rather at. At. And the word for father before that was simply a. A. Was a. I'm saying a in the European way, but a was the first word for father. Father was a. Okay. Then we have the word aqua, water, Latin. In Albanian, we have uj, older phonetic structure, because uj, aqua, uja, aqua, uja are pretty much there. But as you can see, aqua has a longer structure, syntax, which means that it is newer. So the longer the word is, the newer it is, naturally. Corpus, Latin for body. In Albanian, we find corp, which means basket, but it is the actual form. And then we find the word trup, which means body. Corpus, trup, not so far away. In the Germanic words, we find krop, same in Nordic and Icelandic. Krop for body, trop, krop. So yeah, we do find that link now. And then we have the word earth, terra, in Latin, but the Albanian word terra means everything. So we have a semantic shift here. But we also see that it corresponds with the Proto-Indo-European reconstruction word. Okay. So let's go on. We have more. Albanian structural integrity. If Albanian were highly borrowed, it would behave like a Creole, yet it retains complex case system. Indo-European verb conjunction remains intact, and declinations and cases lost in Latin and Greek are preserved in Albanian. So Albanian remains structurally independent and not a language of heavy borrowing. Challenging Orel's classification. Orel claims Albanian is a late Indo-European offshoot influenced by Latin and Greek. However, Albanian's phonetic and morphological structures suggest otherwise. Zot, Albanian God, voice. Theos, God. So Thos, Theos, Zot, pretty much the same. And the reason why we do say the same is because even though they are not phonetically the same, they are semantically the same. Because zoti means voice, his voice, and th means also voice. Okay, in Albanian we have two words for voice. We have zo, and th. So very strange why we do that, but that is also another indicator of it being quite old, because in old languages we have semantics stacking up on top of each other, which we do not find in new languages or modern languages, because they don't need that. They just create they just create new words for it instead of having many words, many semantics within one word. Okay, let's go on. We have the word nya, which is one, number one, and then it in Greek enas, nya, ena, nya, na, pretty much the same, as you can see. Then we find the word unus in Latin, which can be only explained by Albanian again, which means me. So I am un, and that is still used today. So us, if you remember from the previous videos, means is. So I am means one. I am one. Unus. Okay, now you got that explained. We do see. So what is happening here is that this is the strange thing about our whole understanding, or our whole scrutiny regarding language development, is that we are going conceptually after the development instead of semantically. We have to look at semantics and phonetics and not concepts. Concepts are new. Do keep that in mind. Okay, and then we go on. We have then the word tre, three, tres, yeah, same. Re in Albanian for new, and then we find in the Latin renovatio, renewal, and we find all the re words in very many European words, but they don't use re for new themselves. They use other words for new, but they still have re in their words, meaning that they once had the word re, but that it was removed or just forgotten or lost alongside its development. But this is still retained in Albanian and still used to this day. Then we find the word chill, heaven, celum, celum in Latin. So we already see how that is an even longer word than chill. We also find the word sky. Okay, so we got a bit interrupted there, but let's go on. So we go on. Yes, I was going to talk about the word sky. Sky. Well, I will do that on a different slide. I have so many words to explain to you guys that I don't know how to do all of it, but I'm trying. I'm doing my best. Okay, so the problem with Indo-European classification, Çabej categorized Albanian as Indo-European, but only as a peripheral language. He considered it a descendant of Illyrian and Thracian rather than a central Indo-European language. This ignores key evidence, phonetic stability, which means Albanian retains archaic phonemes lost in Latin and Greek. Example, Latin lost nasalized vowels that still exist in Albanian. Example, Greek underwent aspiration shifts, while Albanian preserved consonantal structures. Sorry for my reading. Just have to keep it beautiful and succinct. Okay, so Albanian's role in the Proto-Indo-European language. Çabej failed to acknowledge that the Proto-European reconstructions are theoretical, whereas Albanian provides living evidence of PIE roots. For example, bër, to carry, Latin fer, Greek ferin, Albanian mbart, or just bër, which is exactly the same as we find in Proto-Indo-European and also in Sanskrit. We have also the word gen, in Latin gigno, and in Greek gignomai, and in Albanian gen. Still the same. And how anyone could ever fathom or get to the conclusion that that Albanian borrowed the words from Greek and Latin must be delusional. Because how can you borrow a shorter word? You could say, yeah, but Albanian could have just reduced it. But that still wouldn't make sense if Albanian has built different words using only the root. So I will end that argument as well. I will end all your arguments, baby. You will be crushed if you do not understand what we're talking about here. So we have the Balkan linguistic continuum. This means or looks at how Illyrian, Mesapic, and Albanian share deep phonetic and structural similarities. If Albanian is a direct descendant of Illyrian, then it existed alongside early Latin and Greek rather than evolving from them, which is also what we find. So what we are doing is we're rejecting Çabej's Latin-Greek supremacy model, who treated Latin and Greek as pure languages while viewing Albanian as less developed. And it's true, Albanian is less developed formally, but not linguistically. However, Albanian monosyllabic roots prove precedence. Lingua, lingua, means to give birth from your tongue. To pretty much to give birth from your tongue. And that is language. Kronos means the source is, or the essence of existence is source, which is why Kron was the source and the beginning of creation. Logos means to leave things from your mouth, okay? To play with speech or to move speech around, okay? And then we have Greek evolved alongside Illyrian, borrowing extensively from it, and so on. Many Greek words lack Greek internal etymologies, while Albanian provides clear organic meanings and can reverse engineer them, while the other languages cannot. Why the loanword theory is insufficient? Just reinforcing here why. And then we have the last concluding points. Albanian is not a language of loanwords, but a linguistic root. Albanian's phonetic and grammatical structures are older than Latin and Greek. Latin and Greek borrow from an older Albanian-like language. Western academic bias misclassified Albanian roles in the European history. What brings it back to the point here? So we have a problem with the fact that the Albanian language has not been included when conducting research on how languages developed. So there you go. Okay, so have a good evening and do follow me for more. I hope this was as exciting for you as it was for me. Thank you for listening and have a good night.